Welcome to Small Business, Big Network, the podcast for small business owners who want big results from their networking. I'm Liz Drury, a freelance voiceover artist who knows that if you're not working, then networking could help. Trish Valleys is the author of Breaking Free, a guide to financial freedom for women. She says that networking has really helped her to get her book out there. Thanks very much for being my guest on the podcast today, Trish.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for asking me, Liz. It's fantastic to have the opportunity.
You're most welcome. Now, you are, well, how to describe you? You're a financial expert, you're an author, you're a coach, you've got lots of strings to your bow. So let's dig a bit into your past first. I think you started out in the sort of financial world, didn't you? Was that your first job?
Yeah. And not my first, well, my very first job was as a cashier in a bank for a short while in the good old TSB. But then I went away from that into a limited company working as a contracts manager in finance. Always got a bit of finance there. And then when I left that company, 1990, forever ago, we'd had a financial advisor with the company, and he said, "You'd make a great financial advisor." So off I went down that route and became a financial planner, eventually became an independent financial planner. And then when I had my son and I was at home, it was quite demanding. So I stayed at home and left the face-to-face financial planning, but I'd always done wills and estate planning as well, and budgeting, etc. And so we carried on down that route, and a bit of business consultancy, you name it, I did it. But it was all very much connected with finance, business, work, etc.
Yeah. So what was it that drew you to finance and that sort of world in the first place? Lots of people hate numbers, don't they? But clearly you love that kind of thing.
Well, no, I think I am. I'd say I am a man naturally more drawn to maths. I used to love maths at school. I'm a mathematician, and anything technical. In my head, I'm very artistic, but there's a blockage in both arms. So the message, whatever message goes through my brain, it doesn't look like that when I've put it on a piece of paper or painted it, you know. But maths, it's sort of I remember seeing something when I was at high school. At university, we went to watch a demonstration about magical maths, and it just always, you know, I'm very that way orientated.
Yeah.
But I think more than just the numbers, it was the financial planning. It was the holistic sort of get with a family, get with a person, get with a business, and you're there with them planning their sort of future, what their goals and dreams are, and how can we get there? How can we do this? You know, and along the journey on the way. And people sort of think wills and inheritance taxes really very boring and about dying, but actually it's about living and protecting what you've created all your life, you know. So it's just the next step, really.
Yeah.
But that's what I learned.
How many people do you think that you've helped in that way over the years? It must be so many.
Well, it is sort of, I haven't ever counted. You know, at any one time I seem to have, I don't know, a couple or 300 people, but you're not dealing with them on a day-to-day basis, but maybe once a year or once every couple of years. Or one chap, I met him via his wife, but he was in business. And I did actually ring her one day and say, I think we're having an affair over his debtors list, because he rang me every morning about problems with people paying him money, you know. And so that's really where the sort of coaching and the mentoring came along and started to creep in. It wasn't specifically about financial planning. It was giving people strategies to how to cope, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Now, your business journey is very much tied up with your personal journey, I know.
yes.
Do you want to tell us something about how your, your life story? I mean, we haven't got all day, Trish,
No,
but
yes, and I am quite old, so it is. I'm trying to shorten it. Well, I think yes, I was settled in the finances and this, that, and the other. Early life, and my first husband, who was quite a lot older than me. I've got two stepdaughters because unfortunately his first wife died
Mm,
when they were very young. But he was the guy that picked me up and showed me I could go to the moon if I wanted. If I said I want to go to the moon, he'd say, right, come on, let's get your spaceship.
yeah.
He was so full of it. And when in business, it was a man's world at that time.
Mm,
So it was a great confidence giver. Um, but then I think, over time, unfortunately, he was considerably older than me, not very well, didn't want any children, and I wanted
mm,
my clock was ticking, and I wanted
yeah.
my own birth child, or children, and so it eventually led to a divorce. We stayed very amicable, and my two daughters, my four grandchildren, my two great grandchildren, we're all still very well connected.
Mm.
But then I went bowling along into a second marriage. In a way, my first marriage had spoilt me because I thought, all men are going to be like the same and treat me the same. And off we went into what proved to be a very draining, very, very toxic
Mm,
marriage. Um, I would do it all again because I have the most amazing son.
yeah.
And I'd do it all again. Uh, but it did get very, very difficult. It's now called domestic abuse, and there's a lot more known about it.
Yeah.
But this is sort of 95. I met him, and 2014 we're sort of starting down there. Well, let's get a divorce. Well, I think the laws about domestic abuse and coercive control and all that kind of thing, they were only just sort of coming in
Yeah.
2015, 16, and very little training of anybody or
Yeah.
recognition of it, and myself, I didn't really recognize it as an abuse until after I'd divorced, really, and we
Yeah.
started this wrangle over, guess what? Money, you know. And so I just went down that route, branched out into all sorts of other things, trying to help the business go, keep the family together, get the family going, etc., etc. And sort of half shelved my own work life, except when we needed money, then I
Mm,
had to go and do a double shift. So I've had lots of life experiences in, I don't, industry, business, lived over the border in Wales where there are a lot of small self-employed businesses. So I've got a lot of knowledge and experience of those. Had a go at, we had an organic farm
mm,
which had holiday cottages and pottery in it. So I've learned an awful lot along the way. Um, and so that's how my sort of offering has evolved,
mm.
really, that I've met people along the way that have either had or are in a similar journey to myself, and need a bit of support and what have you. And I thought that this is what I did.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Don't do that because that was a disaster, but perhaps you want to do something different. And that's how I've sort of developed things, really.
Yeah. I mean, like you say, you've had such a lot of life experience and been through such a lot, and you're able to use that now to help
Yeah.
other people. So tell me about the coaching side of your business and who it is you're helping and how it is that you're doing that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is sort of, at the moment, is organically grown
Mm,
from, once again, some of my financial people that, oh, could you talk to my son? Could you talk to my kids about budgeting when they go off to university? And then 7 years of trying to get out of a very toxic divorce has given me a lot of
mm,
experience of how the system works, how it can work for you, how it can work against you, and what's needed for things like that. And a lot of my work has always been referrals from other people
Mm.
that have said you need to speak to, and I probably get 2 or 3 a week at the moment. People ring up, and it might be just a one-off session, but a guy contacted me on LinkedIn in America and
Mm.
said, I need some help with budgeting. And I was thinking, oh, I'm not so sure I can do dollars or what have you. I'm not sure about the system, but actually budgeting is budgeting,
Yeah.
and sort of stopping his money leaking away. And hopefully I've asked him to come back to me and just give me some feedback in 6 months and see if the plan we put in place has helped him, and it's things like that. And I'm passionate about helping people. I spent years thinking of how terrible and being very negative about my breakdown of my marriage
Mm.
and how toxic it was, and being very resentful and angry. But actually that's wasting energy.
Yeah.
I've now got this life. And I just sort of think, okay, let me take the lessons that I've learned. What have I done? I've had lots of support from different people as well, and I've tried to pull them all into a book, and I've been using them with clients as we go along. And this book really, it's a tool. It's just something to try and help people. Because people say, "Oh, could you put that down for me?" Or you'd write them a plan and things like that. And I think, well, I might as well write this and see if anyone else wants
Yeah.
to use it.
Yeah. So what's the title of your, well, you've written two books actually, haven't you? So
I have.
tell me about both your
Um,
books.
the first book is actually I'm just updating it. I'm going to relaunch it a bit later. So,
Mhm.
as with everything in my life, a little mixed up and a bit back to front. We've published book 2 first, which is actually called Breaking Free. And it's just launched, and it was narrated by a wonderful lady called Liz Drury as well. And I've listened to my own book. It's really weird sitting there reading my own book. Um, Sorry, and yeah, and so they've just launched, and they're available on Amazon platforms and Kindle, as well as the Audible version. And
Yeah. So give me
that
an
is,
overview of the book and.
yeah. Well, in my overview, I wrote book 1, which, as I say, and published that. And that was really raw story, the
Mm.
background to how I came to be where I was. And it was written just during the COVID period as well,
Mhm.
and things like that. So it was really just blurb. And then people that had read book 1 kept going, but how are you? How's it doing? So I started off thinking, okay, let's do book 2 and tell them life's moved on. I'm much more on an even keel. I'm doing this. And I thought, well, actually, rather than saying I did done all this and just telling more of the story, why don't I make it into something so it can help other people?
Mm.
So I've just sort of assembled all the things that I've done over the 4 years or so since the first book. And they're not in any particular order. You can read the book in any order you like, just go in at any page and dip in and out. And it's just the things I've done.
Mm.
And this worked for me. This was how I rebuilt my self-confidence. This was how I went about, staying in the now and learning a bit more about myself. This is what I journaled. And I put help sheets in as well,
Mm.
and sort of tips and advice to try and make it a more useful thing rather than just another story.
Yeah.
Um, so it's got a bit of help and support in there, which hopefully people will be able to take bits from.
Yeah.
You don't have to read chapter 1 before you can read chapter 2. You can just do what in whatever order. You'll notice, and I think I sort of noticed reading and listening to the narration that I've obviously written these different chapters at the different stages
Yeah.
of when I was doing them, because I think, oh, was I really thinking like that and looking like that? You know, so it's quite interesting actually for my own
Yeah, I mean,
development.
having read your book, being your narrator, thank you very much. Yeah, there is lots of useful information in there, and I love the fact that you've included links to lots of different help sheets as well. So it's not just the
Yeah.
book; there's always other information in the background that you can go
Yes.
and dig into, and really, really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Well, no, and hopefully, and it's not. Although primarily people say, who's your ideal audience? I suppose my audience is people like me that have gone through it, but you haven't necessarily been in a toxic relationship with a narcissist. You haven't necessarily been financially abused. It might be that I don't know, your children have left home and you're an empty nester, and what am I going to do now?
Mm,
Or
mm,
unfortunately, you've just lost your husband or a partner or something, and you've never had to manage your financial
yeah,
situation and you're feeling a bit unsure. Or, you just been made redundant, and what am I going to do now? It's trying to give people thoughts on how you can make every day a new adventure, and grab opportunities rather than staying stuck,
yeah.
going, oh dear, this has happened to me, and it's no benefit to you, you know.
Yeah. And something I read about in your book, and I'd love to know a bit more about it, is the horses. So
Oh
tell me about the
yeah,
horses
the
and how
passion.
horses help with therapy.
Oh, and I am still developing it. I've just completed a sort of diploma. It's about equine facilitated learning. So it's using horses on the ground, being with a horse, and using them to ground ourselves, be with ourselves, learn. Horses mirror us exactly. They're
Mm,
prey animals, so they get chased. So they have to be alert and react almost instantaneously to their surroundings. They're always now. They're never
mm,
thinking about what they might have for tea because the lion might get them, you know. So they're very good at reflecting our emotions to us when we walk up to them and want to be with them. And we can use that to sort of develop our approach with people, our how we build rapport with people. How do I get to walk up to that horse and he doesn't walk away? How can I be with that horse? Can I groom that horse? How can I breathe like that horse? And as I say, I'm just finishing a research project on how this kind of therapy is it. I can't call it therapy because I'm not a therapist. I call
hmm.
it facilitation or interactions, and anybody can do it, um, individuals or groups. But what I decided to work on increasing the presence of trust,
Mm,
and whether horses could actually, because it's an embodied emotion learning, it's an experiential learning. Sometimes we can have shifts in our mindset and our thoughts and emotions, and they're so rapid, and it's just from being in the horse with the horse. And we decided that trust accounts for huge amounts of our well-being at work or
mm.
in our relationships, etc. And the first person you've got to trust is yourself.
Yes.
um, and I think that was something that the horses really helped me, because I think I was so worn down by this narcissistic relationship that I didn't trust myself. Didn't
Mm,
trust myself to make good decisions, to do the, and it was all down to trust. So I think that's why I've decided to do my project. So happily forward it to you when you do. And I'd love anyone that's interested. There's always around you, like a taster
mm.
sessions to go and spend an hour with the horse. And I've done it before where we've said, oh, well, we're going to work on confidence today, or we're going to, but actually it's whatever's priority
Yeah.
for the person meeting the horse, that's what's going to come up, or
Yeah.
what's going to happen. So I think just going and spending some time, it is an amazing experience,
Yeah.
even if it's just to enjoy it
Yeah.
and being out in nature and bit of sunshine, and it's lovely.
Yeah, well, that always makes you feel better, doesn't it? Bit of sunshine.
Yes.
So tell me about some of the what sort of feedback you get from your clients, whether that's people you've worked with the horses, people you've worked with financially, or you've coached in some way. What do they say about you, Trish?
Oh, gosh, it's always an embarrassing bit. I still struggle with blowing my own trumpet, if you like. Actually, some of the people I've helped, I have had stunning reviews from them, and I think, me? I did that? No, I didn't do that. I just gave you a safe space. And the same with the horses. I gave you that safe space to organize this for yourself and think about this and get yourself. You've done it,
Mm,
not me. I've just tried to take the emotion out of it. But I have had some lovely reviews, and there's a very long one appeared on Amazon over the weekend. But it's stunning, and I sort of think, oh my goodness, this lady is um just taken every chapter
mm.
and written reviews. Just the practical, common sense, logical, um, excellent advice is a lot of my reviews.
Wonderful.
So
So let's
I
have.
am very blushing about that. Good job this is audio.
You have to blow your own trumpet, Trish.
Just occasionally. Yes, I do say that in the book. What have I achieved? Oh, I wrote this book and people came in. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's have a little chat about networking now. So how are you networking in order to, tell people your story and tell people about your book?
Yeah. Well, we've done various things. I've joined a women's business group, and there's a face-to-face group. I do a couple of online networking
Hmm.
sessions. Um, Usually, I try to do a couple in the week that I join in and just drop in and spend half an hour and listen to other people's stories. I tend to, when I'm doing my sort of financial stuff, I do accumulate referrals from that, and you
Hmm.
tend to listen and say, well, in my other life, I could give you a hand with that if that's something you're interested in. Or other people I meet at networking, I like to have a little bit of information about them, um, and do a one-to-one with them so that I know exactly what they do and who they're looking to
Mm.
help. So then it's in your mind, isn't it? Rather than, oh, it's Liz Drury, that woman. I know about you, and you sent me that lovely. I loved your little intro and bio that you sent me, and I thought, well, that's good. I might
Thank you.
borrow that.
Feel free.
um, yeah, no, I really like that because it gave me things to think about and what have you. And I just think, in many ways, many of us, whatever we're doing in the world, we've all got the same client in
Hmm.
many, many ways. And if we can just provide, but we can't do everything for one person. We can't. I've tried that. I nearly ran myself into the
Yeah.
ground once. Trying to do everything for everybody. But actually, I think collaborating with people and offering this, how can I help you? How can I serve you? What do you need rather than what do I need? What do you need?
Yeah.
Well, then it feeds me anyway because I get such a lift from the fact that, oh, I've helped that person, they've achieved what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good feeling, isn't
Well,
it?
I think the networking is really valuable, and it gives you the opportunity over a bit of time to build a rapport with people,
Mm.
um, and and you can move forward easily then with things.
Yeah.
And I suppose in some ways I'm not a tell you what to do person. I try to get them to suggest, or maybe you could do this, or what do you think about doing, or how do you think you could do differently?
Yeah. Yeah. So have you met people through networking who have really sort of helped move your business forward?
Yes, I've got a couple who do a lot with social media that are really good and really have been really helpful, and they love doing it. To be perfectly honest, doing captions, and I can do the quotes, I can do the piece of, but putting all the thinking of the picture and the, I'm the mathematician,
Yeah.
not the creative one, you know. So I find that, oh, can't I just get on with doing what I love, which is talking to people, and helping people. And so I've met a couple of lovely people through that. I've also met through networking, which may be helpful to me. He's going to do a photo shoot of me.
Mm.
A really good photographer that said, well, you can use them for profile pictures on your website, whatever. And so we're going to do a little bit of that.
Mhm.
Um, and then the team at Athena Heard Foundation, where I've done my equine facilitated practitioner courses, they are just a fantastic team, and they're based, well, around the world. There's quite
Mm.
a lot in the UK, but they're around the world, and you can, the whole community is just jump in and say, I need so and so, so and so, can somebody help me with this? I've got this to think about, and somebody will jump in and say, okay, message me or try doing this, and that has helped me tremendously. And particularly with things like, how do you get the business started? How do you promote it and reach it? I've just been invited by another media to do an article for a magazine,
Mm.
what have you. So it's been a bit of a busy couple of weeks, but it's in my mind, and I think, okay, I need to do something
Yeah.
on that
Yeah.
aspect, because I
And
just think it's awareness, isn't it, really?
yes, yeah. And
Yeah.
has the networking helped with your book, with getting it published and getting the word out there?
Well, most definitely, and before I even started writing it, I am a member of a book club.
Mm.
So actually, they were amazing. One or two of them. It's not at all their style of book in many ways, but they were my beta readers,
Yeah.
and they've helped me going, well, what does this mean? Because I know my story, and so it's very easy to do it. And actually, I had a coach, Ellie Stevenson was
Mhm.
my coach, and she's an author, and she was amazing. And even to things like, she read it, because it's no good me reading it and I go, oh,
Yeah.
that's nice, but my brain's already filled in any gaps because I
Yes.
know my
Yeah.
story. So it's lovely to have some really objective um people reading and saying, well, what did you mean by that? Or can you explain
Hmm.
that? That was really good.
Yeah.
Um, and those are only through networking. I met you through
Yes.
networking,
Yes.
and hopefully at some point you've helped me with what I'm trying to achieve. But at some point, I'll talk to somebody and I know a lady who can help
Yeah.
you, and I just think that's the way forward.
Yeah.
I did. I'm not. I don't wish this to sound judgmental in a way. I think women are actually better at this kind of thing
Mm.
than men. We are better at reaching out to each other and supporting each other and moving forward and collaborating rather than competing against each other.
Yes.
And meeting somebody, even if we're doing the same line of work, it's an opportunity to sort of grow ourselves and develop ourselves rather than, it's competition,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, one final question then, Trish. If people want to get in touch with you for your financial expertise, or they want to know about the book or your coaching or the horses, what's the best place for people to find you?
You can always phone me. I'm on 0044 07831 379562. You can check on my website, which is www.trishvalleys.com, or you can email me at book@trishvalleys.com.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much for being my guest, and the best of luck with the book, and the audiobook as well, of course.
Well, and there's a book one coming, so I dare say I will be back in touch fairly soon, in the next couple of months anyway, for the revamp of book one.
Lovely. I shall look forward to it. Take care, Trish.
Thank you so much, Liz. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Small Business, Big Network. If you found this podcast useful, please do rate, review and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with the rest of your network too.